All right. Hi, everyone. Today, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to be with you. Today, we are mixing things up. We're doing it a little differently. But I got asked this question a lot, and it could not be more perfect timing. And I think coming into 2026, so I want to hear how everyone is doing. Can we believe it's like January or end of January, almost February? So how are we doing with the big goals? The question that I've been getting asked a lot is, what do I do if I don't have clarity? And how do I move forward? And one of the things that I have actually mastered in my life, I didn't really realize it until I started tracking a lot of things that I've done, but I've made a lot of moves, and there's a level where I had absolutely no certainty. And I move forward anyway. And I think that this is a big limiting belief that we need to know. Listen, certainty is one of our 5 human needs, and it will stop you from actually taking action. The truth is, we're here. We're not opening our book of life and going right to the end, right? And so I say that to you because if right now you feel like you're on the precipice of a lot of change, and if you feel like there's something that's happening, and that's a big thing in the energy right now, is very much, there's a lot that's changing. A lot of people that are wanting to shift careers, a lot of people that are wanting to start something new, unclear about their purpose, especially in midlife. And maybe you're revisiting a lot of things going on. That's often what happens after a new year. We go into reflection. We start thinking about what we would want to do differently. And what I want to tell you is, you don't need more clarity to move forward. And I'm looking in both places because we're streaming in a few different platforms. You don't need more clarity to move forward. And that is something that will stop you and block you if you believe that to be true. Because the truth is, if you knew, like if I knew what it would have taken to be an entrepreneur, I probably would have never done it. When I look back on, I've been working for myself now for 22 years, but when I look back at a lot of what I did, had I known all of that, but that's the joy of the journey. And so if right now you're wanting to know exactly how it's going to look and have all the answers, then what it's about is actually getting you to be okay in uncertainty and still moving anyway. And I find, especially with big thinkers and those high achievers, the dreams can get so big. And I'm here to remind you, it's about what is that next step. So you don't need to know the whole plan. You don't need certainty, right? You really don't. As much as we want to have it, and your nervous system, and you could feel anxious, and we want to know, what is the answer? Give me the crystal ball. Is this going to work? Is this investment going to be well? Is this move going to be right for me? Is this the relationship? Is this it, right? And it's like, well, that's the whole point. It's in the doing and the being that you gain the clarity, right? So you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need enough self-trust to take the next step. And that's where I always say, on the other side of your resistance, of your fear, are your greatest dreams realized, right? On the other side, I'm just going to say it again, I want it to land, because it's a hard one. And I didn't realize, I am an Aries, but I didn't realize that I live my life with a lot of uncertainty. I don't have a lot of the things that many grasp for right away. And like I just said, I started my own business 22 years ago, and I knew nothing about what I was doing. I went from fashion design to being a nutritionist and starting an online business when social media, I'm totally dating myself, but this was a new thing. We had transitioned from MySpace to Facebook. I had no idea. And I lived in New York City, and I remember my one brother's what are you going to do? Move home with mom and dad? What are you doing? You live in the West Village. You live in the most expensive city in the world. You have a very good life. You make a lot of money. You have an expensive, you're sent around the world to trend shop. What are you doing? And I just walked in and quit. I had no plan. And you want to know what happened? I quit. I walked in and I remember I quit and they said, I sat down, my boss was in from Australia, Fiona, and we were located in New York, or we were headquartered in LA and in Australia. I have a hair that's like across my face here. There we go. Okay. And I walked in and I'm just like, I'm quitting. And I did very well for them. And I was with them for a long time. I was with them for like 10 years. And so I had all of these great relationships, and I basically built a business within the business and doing fashion design and private label. Anyway, for handbags and accessories, I should say. So I walked in and I don't know who I look back and I'm like, man, I had balls. But I walked in, like, I had no plan for insurance. I don't know. And this is not me at like 22. Like, I was like 32. I was 30. I was 30. And I walked in and I quit. And this is what I mean. The universe will meet you when you follow the desire. I walked in, I said, I'm putting in my notice and I'm not going to. And she was like, what? And so she said, we don't want to lose you, which I was not expecting. You don't really realize like how valuable you are and at that time I didn't, because in that industry too, they're like, you should just be grateful you have a job, like, and very, very cutthroat, especially in New York. So anyway, I say this because I left that day and she said, come back and think about what you need to stay. And I was like, I was not prepared for this. So I go home, I talk to my boyfriend, and he's like, ask for everything. And I'm like, what? And he's like, Melissa, they need you. Ask for everything. Like, ask for double the amount of pay. Like, he's like, you don't care. You already quit. And I was like, all right. So I go in and I did. I said, I want to cut my client load in half. I only want the clients that I love. I want double the pay. I need a designated design team to help bring my designs to right. So we would do all these renderings, and I wasn't trained in design. I was like self-taught. So, they would do like the 3D graphics and renderings. And I'd like sketch. Anyway, bottom line. So they gave me everything. They gave me everything. And I left and I was like, oh, and I'm like, see, and that just shows. Now, at this time, I was not into, I didn't understand the power of identity and mindset and law of assumption and manifestation. I was not in this world at all. But looking back, I'm like, oh, I had no fears. I didn't need anything from them. There was no resistance. And I didn't really have any certainty or plan, but what the universe supported me, God, universe, source, energy, I stayed with them for 2 years, and it paid for me to build my business and for my tuition as I went back to school. So I was completely covered, and I was able to build a business without freaking out, without needing to leave my West Village apartment, without needing to move home, like nothing. And not that there's anything wrong with those things, but I was able to build that business. And that's where the universe will support you, as when you follow the guidance. I didn't know that it would lead me to where I am today or to the life that I've lived. And the gifts it's just been incredible. And I'm not going to sit here and act like it was all like roses, and like there were hard times in building my business. There were definitely like ups and downs. There were a lot where I was like, thought I built a business so I would work less, and I'm like, why am I working all the time? So I say that because that was me leaning in with uncertainty. And I really want to encourage you, if you have a desire on your heart, but you don't know what it's going to look like or how it's even going to happen, but you're like, I know this is the path. I know this is what I'm being called to next. And I asked myself this pivotal question. I said, and it was one of those moments where I think like all my friends were getting married at the time, and I was like, what do I want? And I'm like, I've already been with this company 10 years. I know what this looks like. I'm good at this. I'm good at fashion. Like, I'm good at design. I know this, like, I can do this. And I was like, if I'm still doing this 5-10 years from now, am I going to be happy? I'm like, I think I'd be bored. Like, I need another challenge. Like, I love this. I'm very grateful for it, but I want more. But I didn't know what more looked like. And so that put me on a journey of self-inquiry. And so then I started looking at all of the things that I was good at and all of my interests and all the things that I loved. And health and nutrition was always deep passion, and people always came to me for guidance. And I also loved helping people and kind of was looking at therapy or psychology, which is like, and so then I found, health coaching, which was like nothing that, and life coaching. And there was like nobody that did this but like Tony Robbins that actually made money. And everybody was like, who would pay, like, what do you mean, a coach in like sports? I mean, this was me having conversation with my family. I'm sharing this with you because there isn't always a plan. And now this is like one of the number one industries in the world. And it has morphed into like, influencers and personal brands and all the things. But at the time that I did this, it was new. I mean, there weren't even certifications. So, and then we had to and then the school that I found and then they had to fight to actually make it a thing that you could get a degree around. My point being, step into the desire, lead with uncertainty, trust where it's going to bring you. And you might be the trailblazer that's creating the thing. And you might be the first that's going to do it your way. Most likely you are. And so you don't need certainty. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need enough trust in the next step. And that brings me to the next thing that I want to say is that next step without collapsing into fear. Because the mind does not know this present moment. The mind, if I said to you, what's going on right now in this moment? What thought are you? It would only be able to pull off of your past thoughts or compare you to the future. So we're either in future tripping what if state, or we're comparing and contrasting. The mind doesn't know. Did you ever notice you make a decision, your ego goes, the ego is the mind. And it's nothing more than an artifact of past consciousness that you've programmed it. I want you to think of Google. So when you say to the mind, I'm going to go turn right, it's going to go, well, you should have turned left. There was probably no traffic if you would have turned left. It will constantly hit you with the opposite of, I went to this party. You should have said yes to the other invitation. You should have stayed home tonight. It will give you, because it's always comparing and contrasting. And it also lives into what if scenarios. That's why we have a reticular activating system where you get to place your focus where you want it to go. And so when you are having a bad day, then it's going to give you more evidence of why everything's bad and attract that to you, versus you saying, and I want you to think of it this way. It's like your mind's a computer and you're like, tell me why today is going to be a bad day, or focus on all the negative things. It's going to pull those. Just like if you want to buy a new red Porsche and you start seeing them everywhere, it's not because it's like, I'm manifesting my red Porsche. No, what you've done is programmed your mind to see red Porsches. So now they're highlighted everywhere where you otherwise were, your visibility was skewed. So that is what the reticular activating system does. So we want to use that system to support us in getting around the fear. Why is it a good thing that I don't know the ending? Why is it a good thing that I'm not 100% clear on my next step? Why is it a good thing that I'm sitting in this discomfort right now? Well, discomfort means I'm growing. Well, if I don't know the next step, then it means I get to create something new. And what fun would it be if I already knew how all of this was going to go? What would be the point? Well, why is it good that I'm feeling anxious right now? Well, it means that I'm actually changing, and that means that if I'm changing and other things are happening, then I'm actually living. I'm doing things differently, which means more good has to come because I'm growing, I'm shifting, I'm changing, right? When we place our focus there, it's huge. So I wanted to put that out. By the way, I'm Melissa Catherine, and we are streaming, like I said, to multiple platforms at one time. So I'm already seeing there's quite a few questions and comments. I will answer those, and I really, really love this time being able to answer questions from the community and just being able to support and what's going on and up-leveling your life and going to where you want to go. And one of the things that I found that I live by is bold moves. And bold moves is what is really when you collapse time. What is a bold move? A bold move means you operate without being able to get caught up in your mind and fear, and you're doing moves that make you have to step into a new identity very quickly. It's putting yourself in situations where you're like, okay, so examples of this would be getting into a relationship, moving, a big move, starting a business, leaving a business. All of these things are propelling you into, whether you want them or not, into having to craft a different identity, a different level of connection with yourself, a different, like I said, identity. And what that does is it moves you into really not having to overthink or be caught in overwhelm, and instead be in a space of already, instead of acting as if you have to be that version of you. When a woman finds out that she's pregnant, it's like, she's going to be a mom. Yes, you have a period to adjust to that, but even when you have the baby, it's like, okay, this is here. And that's why many can like freak out, because it's like, okay, I wasn't expecting all of this, because immediately, just like that, your entire life has changed. So bold moves collapse time and move you more quickly to where you want to be. Now, a lot of people are afraid of things like that because they do love certainty. There are many that are afraid of being uncomfortable, that don't want to be in a space where they don't know what's next. And this is a real human conversation, and about what it actually takes to stay grounded and self-led when life feels unclear. And the biggest tip that I have for you, if there's a lot in your life right now that feels unclear, is normalize the uncertainty. Normalize it, right? A lot of people are in this place right now. And with it being a new year, if you've set goals, right? This is truly, it's funny. I was teaching this and I got comments around it where it's like, people are already feeling behind. And I'm like, this is what not to do with New Year's, right? Because we don't want to find ways to make ourselves feel wrong. And so you're not doing anything wrong if you're already behind on goals. It's just showing you that the goals, too many goals is the problem, that we need to simplify. Right? And so another thing that I want to tell you with uncertainty that is really important to be aware of is uncertainty can feel loud, and it's not because you're doing something wrong. It can bring up a lot for you. It can bring up a lot of questions. It can bring up a lot of self-doubt. It can have you say, you're crazy. What are you doing? What are you thinking? And that's where faith comes in. And this is also where I'd love to combine faith with simple neuroscience. Right? And here's something important to understand. Your brain is designed for prediction, not happiness. It wants to stay in its comfort zone. It doesn't mean that you're happy there. Really understand that. It will keep you struggling with your weight. It will keep you at status quo with your wealth. It will keep you constantly stuck or in the exact same home or in the exact same neighborhood and never leaving. It will keep you in the same job because your brain is wired for predictability, not happiness, and not doing anything it doesn't know. Your mind only knows what you've taught it. It doesn't know the program for going to the places that you haven't been yet. It doesn't know the program for being the version of you that you're becoming or building or desiring to be inside of you. So when there is a dominant identity, that identity is going to lead. If the dominant identity is, I struggle with my weight, then you'll struggle with your weight. If the dominant identity is, I'm indecisive and I like to play it safe, then that will constantly want to override your decision to do things differently until you've crafted your next level identity. This is why I'm so passionate about identity shifting. This is why I teach from identity to get you to where you want to be versus just wanting to manifest and hope for the best. Okay? So and I don't even want to go into that. I really want to help you more to understand what to do around this. So when we feel unsafe and when things are uncertain, our nervous system is unsafe. It doesn't feel good. And that's why overthinking will show up. And the mind loves to keep you in the mind. But when we drop into the body, your body will give you answers. And that's why I want to tell anybody, if you're stuck in uncertainty and you're stuck in an anxious loop of overwhelm or self-doubt, move your body, move the energy, go on a walk, Just walk it out, go for a run, do something to move energy to get out of your head and into your body. This is going to be a game changer, and it's going to be highly supportive. It is not the tried and true things that work in life are all free. Breath, water, prayer, meditation, movement, right? Those are truly the healing agents. Even a journal, talking out loud. I mean, these are ways that we can heal and process, connect in, do nervous system regulation, somatic healing, talking to God, getting back to yourself. So when we are in our heads, our emotions feel bigger. And that's when so many lead from their emotions and allow their emotions to dictate their motivation. Emotions will always lie. Now, yes, happiness you can go, oh, I'm going to follow this happiness. It feels really good. Great. But if you're waiting and always looking at your emotions to determine who you are and what you're going to do that day, then you're really putting things up to chance in a scary way, because the majority of people would say, I don't feel like being a mom today. I don't feel like being married today, or I do, or I don't feel like having this job, or I don't feel like showing up online, or I don't feel like looking at my bills or making, like, if we're always going off of how we feel, what actually has us do the things is the identity that we have. I'm somebody that follows through. I'm somebody that takes care of me. I'm somebody that's responsible. These are all identities. And those identities is what will drive you. So what do we do when we're uncertain? We have to anchor into the identity of the version of us that we're being. And if we're unclear on the vision, get clear on how you want to feel. Get clear on what it's going to bring you. So you might go, I don't know. I just know that I want wealth. Why do you want the wealth? Because I want to feel secure. I want to feel free. I want to feel comfortable. I want to know that I can do anything. I want to be a yes to all the things without worrying about anything. I want to give back in a greater way. All of those things are feelings that you're getting. It's not the actual wealth. So when we're uncertain on the exact picture, we can drop into who is the version of me that I'm going to be, and how is it going to feel, and what are they going to have. I might not know the full picture, but I can craft that version, be them now, and trust that by me being that, I'm going to align to the vision that's going to bring me the end reality, even if I don't know exactly what the picture perfect thing is going to be. Are you guys all with me? Right? So identity over emotion every time. Instead of how do I feel today, it's who am I choosing to be? Right? Who am I choosing to be? Identity gives your nervous system something stable to hold on to anchor into, right? So if you're watching this live right now, or even when you're watching this after, tell me in the comments, where in your life does uncertainty feel the loudest? Is it in your home life? Is it around relationships? Is it with money? Where does uncertainty because it's where you feel most anxious, where you worry the most? What is that for you? And the other one that I really want to say is the way to really anchor into creating certainty in identity is through repeatable actions. Those repeatable actions are what's going to drive your momentum. So the brain repeats what feels good. And this is why I will often teach my clients, and in our community, I always say, repeat to yourself over and over, of course, this is me. This is who I am now. I'm somebody who gets what I want. I'm somebody who's lucky. I'm somebody who feels. I'm someone who good things happen to. I'm someone who experiences miracles. When good things occur, go, of course that happened. Of course. Of course. We're normalizing the new identity. And another great one to do is talk about how easy the thing is that you're doing, especially when it feels hard. You're lifting more weight in a gym. This is so easy. You're programming yourself in real time. The mind doesn't know the difference. Oh, she thinks it's easy to be like lifting, 200 pounds, blah, 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 right? Oh, she thinks it's easy to make these sales calls right now. Oh, she thinks it's easy to put herself out on online date. Oh, she thinks it's easy to. When you do that, the mind loves ease. You're giving it a program. Language is transformative. It can either stop you or support you. Notice your words. So important. And all of these things are going to be Extremely beneficial. I can't stress this enough. And this is how you build momentum. And this is how you ground yourself to feel safe when you don't know the answer. All you need to do is the one next step and follow what feels good. Okay, does that feel good? I'm going to do that. Okay, now that I did that, what's next? What's next? And then you add them up. And if you keep following what feels good and doing what's next and doing those actions, you will find that very quickly you end up where you want to be and being more and more aligned with that big dream. And that's another one that I want to say. If you have a big dream and you constantly reference it as a big dream, you are putting it on a pedestal far away from you. Normalize the dream. Bring it back down. Notice, like, give your mind evidence. Think of your mind like a jury, and you are coming in and you're stating your case. You're going to give it all the evidence for why this is normal. Of course you can be famous. Of course you can have all the money. Of course you can blow up on social media. Of course, look at all these other people that did it, and they did it, and they did it, and they're half as talented as me. You're giving the evidence. And when you give the evidence, the mind buys in. And it starts going, oh, why? Because we go back to what I talked about in the beginning. You're framing your reticular activating system to look for more evidence to support that, yes, you can do this. Of course you can. It's not a big deal. It's normal. It's there for you. There's nothing to question here. So do you see how we're normalizing? Do you see how we're taking a time and space in your life where it can be filled with fear and overwhelm and chaos and self-doubt, and we're bringing it in with practical, tactical things, combining neuroscience and identity and your faith to actually reprogram the subconscious and to regulate your nervous system through nervous system connectivity. Hi, I see, I'm noticing I'm feeling anxious. Oh, that just means I'm really needing certainty. How am I going to give myself certainty? I'm going to remind myself of who I am and why this feels good for me. I'm going to remind myself that this is who I am. And of course, why not me? If it could happen for them, of course it can happen for me, right? So this is about getting out of your head and into your body. Out of your head and into your body. And if you guys want a worksheet, I broke this down for my clients, and I wanted to make sure that I could give you something as well. And it's just super simple, but it drops you in. It's like one page on what you can do each day to just move forward in alignment, coming from the end, coming from identity, and no more than those 3 things that are going to lead you to where you want to be and what you're wanting to have in your outer reality. So let me know if you want that. Just put worksheet in the comments. And I just want to say, I love you. I love our sprint sessions here where we get into one topic and I can give you real-time guidance and actionable steps that you can do today to give you what you need to move with certainty when in uncertain times, we should say, when you're lacking the clarity. There's nothing wrong with that. That means you're actually exactly where you're meant to be. You're soul-led. And the soul is going to guide you to where you want to be. Your mind is going to keep you in status quo, moving incrementally. But we don't want that. And that's why we move from bold moves. So stay tuned here with me each week as we come in with more bold moves that you can do to make your dreams come true. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.